Hi guys, Ian here, aka Hura Mantra, and this was not meant to be the start of my second video in my Divinity and Divination series, okay? I recorded that and then I saw what it was that was behind me. Now yesterday when I recorded part one, over my shoulder was two tea light holders and a bag of runes that looked like male genitalia, which I had a laugh over. And then today, as I was recording the intro to my video, I noticed I was stood here. Great, huh? It's Leonardo's Wonderful Man. But I thought, well, I'm not going to re-record my second intro, but I wanted you to see what it was, okay? So it's, let's start with a funny, huh? Right, okay, on to part two. Hi guys, it's Ian here, aka Hura Mantra, and yesterday I did a video on Divinity and Divination, and that was part one, and I said I would make another one showing how I sort of approach the divination process. So I'm going to do that now. This will be part two. But before I start, I just want to pick up something, clarify something that I mentioned yesterday, because I mentioned in my video yesterday that I thought my understanding of God was the great negation, and one of the things I talked about was the absence of thought. And someone has asked me whether or not I thought that God was mindless, whether the great being, the supreme being, the great unity, the infinite one, whatever your name is for the source of life, the source of all being, whether I thought that God, to use just one word, was mindless. No, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean absent of intelligence, because I think that the supreme being is the primal intelligence, but I do mean absent of thought. Now to us, thought is probably the fastest thing that we know. It's amazing, isn't it? But it is the passage of electrical impulses to cells, and through neurochemicals, we retrieve information, we manipulate information, we know all that we know in 3D manifest planet Earth through our thoughts. But to spiritual beings, to beings of pure, well, I use the word energy, but I can't even conceptualize what pure spirit is. But to those beings, thought is primitive beyond any kind of thing that we can know. As one writer once said, I think it would be like having to chip away every syllable of every word that we wanted to say in stone. That's what thought is like to beings of spirit. So I'm not saying God is absent intelligence, far from it. I think the supreme being is all knowledge, but not in any kind of way that we know. And certainly not limited by the laborious electrochemical process of thought. Okay, so I hope I've cleared that up now. But any more questions, please feel free to ask. I'm now going to go and just show how I approach divination using tarot. Okay, so come with me and we'll take it from there. Thanks. Hello, so here we are then, ready to start the divination process. Now what I've got is I've just got a cloth spread out. Actually, I've got it spread out on my bed at the moment because it's a nice clear space. I've got a candle lit here. I've got a few little pieces of amethyst nearby. I'll tell you why. Now, I don't think these things are not essential by any means. You can practice the divination process without any of this. But for me, I like ritual, I like ceremony because it helps connect me to a state of being. And the state of being that I want to be connected to right now is seeking the wisdom of my higher self. Okay, so the scented candle, the aromatherapy candle, it's like incense. It's it's taking me to a place, to a way of being. Amethyst is reputed to boost your kind of psycho-spiritual energies and help focus your mind and your spirit in that sort of way. So I've got two pieces of amethyst. Got my deck I'm going to be using today. This is the Thoth deck, the Aleister Crowley Lady Frida Harris deck. Now I know that a lot of people do not like this deck. They feel it is evil, because Aleister Crowley was a very colourful, naughty kind of person in many respects. But I like it. I find it works very well for me. I find that it gives me good, clear results. It works with me and I work with it. So that's what I'm going to be using today. I also like the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I also like the Osho Zen, which I think is a lovely, lovely deck. Okay, so I'm going to unwrap the cards. Always treat your cards with respect. They are sacred items. They are spiritual tools. So show them the respect that they deserve. Treat them well, and they will work with you. Okay, now what I do is I always shuffle the deck, and whilst there's no art to shuffling, no specific way, you can't get it right, you can't get it wrong, I have a method that I like to use because I like, as I've said, kind of a ritual. My method is, firstly, I will just generally shuffle the cards, and whilst I'm doing that, I will address my question to the tarot. And my question today is about moving home, specifically moving home to Glastonbury, which is something that I've often thought about. I love Glastonbury. Every time I go there, it's great. It is known as a spiritual nexus, which helps because I feel I'm a spiritual kind of person. But it's also a very nice place to live. And so, yeah, I was thinking recently. I've thought, well, I wonder if I could live in Glastonbury and how my life would be if I was there. So I'm just going to do some very simple shuffling at this stage whilst I think about that question. Now, after I've done this for a little while, I'll kind of just feel when enough is enough, and then I'll move on to a second form of shuffling. Now, for me, this is a kind of a ritual part of it because, as I mentioned, I study Kabbalah, and so I include in my shuffling a kind of a little riffle shuffle, and I use 4 shuffles, one for each letter of the Tetragrammaton, the name of God in Hebrew, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. So that was Yod, the first riffle. Okay, so just get the cards together. So that was Yod. This is Hey. And they normally go together a bit more smoothly than this, typical. Okay, so this is going to be Vav. Honestly, I can shuffle better than this normally. Really, I can. Please believe me. And finally, the last Hey. And then I'll just fan the cards out. Now, sometimes I will use a set spread like the Celtic Cross. And in a set spread, each card has a position. Each position is a specific aspect of a query. But I'm not going to use that today. I'm just going to use this kind of free form random. So the cards are ready now for my question. And my first question is going to be, what is the general impact likely to be of me moving home right now? So I'll just run my hand over the card, my left hand, and then one will just feel that it's right. So I'll take that card out and I'll turn it over. Disappointment. Okay. So my second question to the card are going to be, what would be the positives if I were to move to Glastonbury right now? Again, run my hands over the cards, turn the card over, and always turn the card over sideways. Okay, so you get it in the position that it is given to you by the tarot. Now, some people read reversals, that's why I say that. I tend not to read reversals. So the Chariot, Major Arcana card. Although we need to take note of all of the tarot cards, the major ones is an extra take note, because the major arcana represent the primary archetypal forces of the universe as manifest in our lives. Okay, so extra attention to this one. So that was what would be the positives if I moved to Glastonbury. The next question is, what would be the likely negatives if I moved to Glastonbury? The Tower. Again, another major arcana card. I need to take note. And then finally, my last question is, on the balance of probabilities, all things considered, what would be the likely outcome of my up sticks and move into Glastonbury right now? And hands over the cards and just pick one at random. The Empress. Okay, a third major arcana card. Right, notice, right, I'm not saying, shall I move to Glastonbury right now? Because that has got to be my own decision. But to come to that decision, it's useful to have thought through all of the possibilities, the consequences. And sometimes we do that ourselves. We don't need the help of the tarot. But sometimes there are things that we don't see, we don't think about in our excitement or in our enthusiasm to do something, or in our fear of doing something. We may block out certain things. And I've just got into the habit of using the divination process just to help me reflect on things. Okay, so those are the things I need to think about. Okay, so here are the cards then. So we've got, the first question was, what do I need to think about in terms of a move of home right now? And it comes up as the card Disappointment. What are the possible positives of my moving specifically to Glastonbury right now? And the card is the Chariot. What would be the negatives of my move to Glastonbury right now? And the card was the Tower. And what would be the overall likely result of my move into Glastonbury right now? And the card is the Empress. So let's just take a look at some of those things. So disappointment, what that speaks to me of is to look at what is the motivation and the expectation of my move, and particularly right now. So I guess my expectation of moving to Glastonbury, because it is such a spiritual place, is that it would help my development even more, that it would somehow increase my learning and my awareness, and it would take me to a new and higher place. But then I'm reminded of I think it's Lao Tzu who says, before enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. So that says to me, life is life. There are certain parts of life that don't change. It doesn't matter whether you're in the little ex-mining village of South Wales or whether you're in a spiritual nexus in England. Some things are the same wherever you go. You can't escape life, and you shouldn't try, because one of the fastest ways to gain spiritual enlightenment is living your life and gleaning every drop of experience that it brings. So that's giving me food for thought about why I want to go right now and what it is I expect when I get there. Then in terms of the positives, the Chariot. Okay, now the Chariot is about victory. It is about power of knowing where you want to go and going there. There's no confusion with the Chariot. He sees where he's going, he has the power to get there, and he conquers that which stands in his way. He achieves. Although he has to plan, he has to organise, he has to do things properly to get his result, but he does get his result. So that's a really positive card. So it tells me that if I did decide to go to Glastonbury, I could make it happen. It would be a good experience. I could achieve it. I would get what I wanted to get out of it, or I would get positive things out of the move. Now, the negatives, the downside, I guess, of going is the Tower. Now, the traditional meaning of the Tower is sudden destruction. But let's look at destruction of what? The lightning bolt hits the tower and shakes it to its foundation. So it is sudden change, big change, not small things. The major arcana talk about big effects on our lives. And sure enough, a move of home and a move of location, even to a different country. I know it's only from Wales to England, but that would bring a sudden and definite change to my life. In fact, it would bring a huge change to my life, because I would be, if I moving there on my own with 2 dogs and a cat. I wouldn't be moving with a job, so I wouldn't have a new work team to go into. I have no family down there. I have no friends there. I don't know a soul. So I would be starting from scratch. So yes, huge impact. So I need to think about that. But the overall result, if I did move, is the Empress. Now, the Empress speaks of abundance, of all good things, of creativity, of emotional satisfaction, of well-being. But the Empress is also Empress of the world in which she sits. She is the Empress of the seasons also, you know, of summer and winter. So I think if I did move to Glastonbury, I might move in an emotional winter time. As the Tower says, it would be a new start for me. I would be having to put down my roots and put up my growing shoots, and I might not get the full benefit of being there straight away. It might feel a little bit like winter at first. Another thing I notice about this reading is that in terms of my thoughts about moving, it's a minor arcana, the minor secrets. Okay, so that is something that relates to me, that goes on in my head, the minor arcana. But the actual move, the physical doing of it, the making it happen, both the positives, the negatives and the outcome, major arcana, as you would expect to see, because these are fundamental big things that would cause a huge impact in my life. So looking at that, is there anything there that I wouldn't have thought of anyway? Well, possibly not. But this has helped me to focus my mind, to think about why I'm going, what I expect, to think about what I need to do to make it happen, and to have confidence that I could make it happen. It's within my abilities, and there would be a positive outcome, you know, a positive result of my moving. To look at the things I need to think about is, how would I feel about being on my own, you know, a stranger in a strange land, I think, to use the words of Ruth in the Bible. I only did it once before when I was young, and I went to live in a place that I didn't know, and I didn't like it. And after about 18 months, I came back. So I need to think about that, you know, about the settling in process, and about the building of the social life, and the getting to be a part of a new place of living. And then finally, the result. Yes, there would be good things for me there. It would be a creative experience, a fertile experience. There would be abundance for me in Glastonbury if I chose to go. So that's how I use divination to help me to focus on things that I think I need to think about. You'll notice I'm not saying, so should I go? Because that's my decision. That's something that I must come to my own conclusion, having thought things through and planned, which is the Chariot. Think about what you need to do. Think about what you need to know before you take your action. And if you think it through and you get it right, you will achieve victory. Okay, so thank you for sticking with me on this. If you have any reflections, then please leave me a comment and I'll try to get back to you. Other than that, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye for now.